Okay, for this week I'm going to be showing you my Zombie Horde alternative play deck. So this can be played cooperatively with friends at a shared life total similar to 2 at a giant, or sometimes I play it by myself in order to test my decks against a opponent to some degree. So the deck, for fun, it has 3 Zombie Knight tokens. So the only thing that matters is creature type, power, toughness, and menace. And then it has 7 blocks of 11 tokens. So 1 block, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a weird looking zombie, that's for sure. 6. From Innistrad, no doubt. 7. And each block of 11 zombies has a lord, so there are 7 zombie giants. 5/5, brutal when they come out, especially if they come out early, and I'll show you how that works as soon as I get to the actual cards. So in addition to the 77 2/2 tokens, the 7 zombie giants, and the 3 zombie knights, I also have regular cards. These represent other spells and stops in the game. And the only thing that matters to these is that they're mindless. They can't cause you to have any decisions, because the zombie lord, as he plays his deck, is mindless. The purpose is for it to be running on autopilot as much as possible, for nobody to have to decide, well, what gets targeted, what comes back out of the graveyard, and so on and so forth. For example, Grave Betrayal. So it's easy. Whenever creature you don't control dies, you get it. Unbreathing Horde comes into play with +1/+1 counters on it. For each zombie you control, each zombie in your graveyard, and if it is dealt damage, you remove the counters. Not a whole lot to think about. So this one, Delve, is irrelevant. The casting cost is irrelevant. All that matters, as I keep saying, is the power, toughness, and death touch, the passive abilities. So this one, Rolling Animator, when it or another cleric, and there are no other clerics in the deck, dies, it gets a 2/2. So the Zombie Horde, on its turn, has infinite mana. On its turn, and its turn only. I'm still fine-tuning some of the rules. It's a bit of work in progress. Whenever we play it, we always tune it up a bit. For example, typically when we play, we'll have 30 life per player, up to a cap of, I think we decided last time 90, and then we play with the full deck, and we have 2 cycles, and I'll show you what a cycle is once I shuffle this up and show you how it plays out. So if the Zombie Horde has cast Tombstone Stairwell, on its turn it basically ignores the cumulative upkeep. It just keeps it. It can just pay for it infinitely. Siphon Soul, Call to the Grave, Bad Moon. I don't know why Bad Moon is 1 colorless, 1 black, when Crusade, white creatures get +1/+1, is white. I just don't like the asymmetrical aspect of that, but just a minor quibble. So, speaking of the zombie having infinite mana, on their turn, if this is in the graveyard, Army of the Damned, they will flash it back. They will flash it back on the next possible turn and get another 13 zombies. And again, once I put everything back together, I'll show you how that works out. The other thing is, when you're playing, you get 3 free turns. So let's say it's you and 2 other players. So 3 of you. Each of you take 3 simultaneous turns. All of you untap, upkeep, draw, and play at the same time. If that gets confusing, just do a turn order at that point. But otherwise, you are basically 3 heads of the same body. Felden's Cane. So, Zombie Giant, or the Zombie Horde, if it casts Felden's Cane, will immediately trigger it, shuffle its graveyard into its library. This is an evil card in this deck, as you will see. So, for the purposes of the game, tokens do go to the graveyard and they act as creatures, so they can come back. So, if you've dumped a bunch of zombie tokens into the Zombie Horde's graveyard, if they cast Living Death, all that stuff's coming back. So each player sacrifices a creature. Just don't overthink it. The Zombie Horde will sacrifice its weakest creature, whatever that is. Probably a 2/2 token. Plague Wind. I should put a Damnation in the deck. Last night I was testing with the zombie, and I cast Plague Wind and I destroyed his creatures too, because I didn't read the card. And I just thought I remembered what it did, and I hadn't played with it for a long time. So I should put Damnation, something else in here. The Zombie Horde has no life. Its life is the deck. So every point of damage your creatures, your mate's creatures deal to the Horde, mills the card. You win when the entire Horde is milled out and they have no more creatures in play. So not only do you have to mill them out, you have to kill all of the creatures. And of course you can change that if you decide to by saying we just mill them out. We don't have to worry about the creatures in play. Well, it takes some of the flavor out of it, because what happens after any zombie film, after they kill the zombies, they have to hunt down the remainder. Well, when they take care of whatever is creating the zombies, they have to hunt down the remainder and take them out too. So let me just shuffle this up. I'll show you how it works. Come on, get in there. Okay, just for the sake of brevity, let me go ahead and show you how this is going to go. So, you sit down with, say, 2 of your friends. You've decided to run a half zombie deck. You're ignoring this half, the half up here, and you're going to start at 60 shared life, 20 shared life each, 20 life each shared. You need to have a shared life total for reasons that will become readily apparent. At the start of the game, you take your draw your initial hands, take your mulligans. Each of you take 3 simultaneous turns. Untap, upkeep, draw, main phase, combat, main phase, end. So once once somebody has the 3 lands out, the next turn the Zombie Horde will attack. And the way it attacks is it will play a token off the top, token off the top, token off the top, and then it plays a card. When you get to... bloody hell. Okay, that's not what I intended to happen, but that is what happened. Alright. So, when you get to an actual card, the cycle stops. That card is played. If it's a spell, whatever effects it has are resolved. It can be countered. So if this is countered, it still has been played, so it still stops the cycle. Otherwise, whatever creatures the Zombie Horde has when you hit a stop, they all attack. And that's why you have a shared life total. You can block as normal, block for each other, but when it hits the shared life total, so there's no, well, did it hit him? Did it hit me? No. It just hits the team opposing it. Now, if it's too easy what you can do is 2 cycles. So the Death Baron would come into play, and there would be an additional cycle of tokens, and then it would stop. So you can see that it can become very aggressive, very scary, very quickly, depending on how you want to do it. If you're playing some aggressive creature-based commanders that can get blockers out quickly, or have some way of taking care of the zombie horde at instant speed, you might want to run through 2 cycles with the full deck. So for example, if you have Edric and I don't know, any red commander that has any kind of instant mass kill, then you might want to do 2. If you're playing slower commanders, a zombie, any kind of control deck, a half deck and 1 cycle is quite sufficient. So let me shuffle this up, and then I'll show you what it looks like in practice against Joyra. And I'll also talk about another variation that we have sometimes. Right, so get ready for part 2.